Welcome to Tracking the Week. On Monday, the Vice President Kashim Shettima has said the administration of President Bola Tinubu is fully committed to reviving the cocoa industry and the whole agricultural value chain in Nigeria, with the target of moving the sector from mere producer to processor of cocoa on the global stage. According to him, the administration is putting everything in place to ensure that Nigeria moves from mere producer to a processor of cocoa by promoting sustainable cocoa farming and forest preservation. Shettima, who stated this on Monday during an audience with the delegation from the World Cocoa Foundation, led by its president Chris Vincent at the presidential villa, noted that it is in a bid to return to the drawing board in respect of revamping the nation's cocoa industry, that the FEC recently approved the establishment of the National Cocoa Management Board (NCMB). Senator Shettima pointed out that the price of cocoa has skyrocketed globally, assuring that with the renewed agenda of President Bola Tinubu, Nigeria is poised to go back to the drawing board. Also on Monday, the Federal High Court in Abuja was shocked, leaving lawyers, court staff and litigants unable to access the premises. This occurred despite a statement issued on Sunday, where the court announced that its workers would not be joining the strike. Our correspondent who visited the Federal High Court premises reported that the court was locked and inaccessible. The situation was the same at the Court of Appeal headquarters in Abuja. Recall that the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria issued a communique dated May 30, directing federal chapters to commence an industrial strike from midnight to Sunday, June 1st. In the communique signed by Acting General Secretary M.D. Akwashike, Johnson attributed the strike action to unproductive meetings with Minister of Labour and Employment. On Tuesday, President Bola Tinubu said in Lagos that Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft and chairman of the Bill Gates Foundation, inspires leaders worldwide by consistently lifting the poor and underprivileged. The president, who conferred the national honor of the Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, A.F. Aaron Gates, noted the renowned philanthropist's interventions in maternal health, agriculture, and infectious disease research. Tinubu thanked Gates for providing global leadership that prioritizes ameliorating the lives and safety of the poor and underprivileged. In his remarks, the Minister of Health and Social Development, Professor Muhammad Ali Bati, said Gates' recognition was well-deserved, considering his long-term involvement in Nigeria's national development. Bati said the strong support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation eradicated polio. Also on Tuesday, Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Olufemi Oluyede, relocated to Benue State in view of escalating security challenges in parts of the state, which has left no fewer than 50 persons dead as a result of armed herdsmen attack. The Chief of Army Staff met with Governor Hyacinth Alia in Government House Makurdi, the state capital, alongside other stakeholders, including the paramount ruler, the Tour Chief. Before entering a closed-door meeting, Governor Alia will discuss with the Army Chief on a pending security situation in Benue State behind closed doors. Later, the briefed critical stakeholders and deliberation geared towards taking a direct approach to surmount the degenerating security in parts of the state. The Chief of Army Staff, Olufemi Oluyede, shortly after the meeting with Governor Alia, left with some military officers to affected communities and villages in the state. On Wednesday, Vice President Kashim Shettima assured the people of Mokwa that the federal government will stand by them in the aftermath of the devastating floods that recently swept through the community, leaving a trail of destruction. He promised the affected residents immediate federal government intervention and renewed commitment to sustainable disaster management policies nationwide. Shettima, who represented President Bola Tinubu, spoke during his visit to the flood-hit community, where the federal government donated 2 billion naira and 20 trucks of grains to the affected community. The Vice President arrived at the community at about 12:30 in the afternoon, where he was received by Deputy Governor of Niger State, Yakubu Garuba, the Etsunupe and Chairman Council of Traditional Ruler, His Royal Highness Yahya Abubakar, and members of the Niger State Executive Council. Shettima regretted that with what happened in Mokwa was a sorrow that has touched every stretch of the nation. Still on Wednesday, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) confirmed that 4 political parties changed their candidate for the upcoming governorship election in Anambra State. The political parties are Accord African Action Congress, Labour Party, and the New Nigeria's People's Party. Following the changes affected, the Commission published the final list of candidates that will contest the 2025 Anambra State governorship election. A statement from the National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education, Sam Olumeko, said deadline for the withdrawal withdrawal and substitution of candidate was Monday, 2nd June 2025. Recall that the Commission recently published the personal particulars of candidates that emerged from primaries conducted by political parties for the election. A total of 16 political parties uploaded the particulars of their candidates Form EC9 by the deadline of 6 p.m. on Monday, 12 May 2025. On Thursday, Vice President Kashim Shettima led other Muslim faithful for the funeral prayers of the late elder statesman, renowned medical scholar and former Minister of Education and Petroleum, Professor Jibril Aminu, at the National Mosque in Abuja. Professor Aminu, a one-time president of the African Petroleum Producers Organization (OPEC), passed on in Abuja on Thursday after a prolonged illness. The Vice President, who arrived at the National Mosque at 1:52 p.m., commiserated with the families of the deceased and prayed Allah to comfort them and make Al-Jannah Firdaus the final abode of the late elder statesman, noting that late Professor Aminu's demise is great loss to the nation. Shettima described the late surgeon, educationist and administrator as a man who saw it all, just as he said the deceased was an intellectual giant who can hardly be replaced. Born in Songo, Adamawa in 1939, Professor Aminu was a towering figure in Nigeria's public life. Still on Thursday, the judges of the Federal High Court of Nigeria will embark on their annual vacation on Monday, 28 July 2025. A statement made available to newsmen by the Director of Information of the court, Dr. Catherine Obi-Christopher, said that the court will resume sitting on Wednesday, 17 September 2025. According to the statement, during the vacation period, the court divisions of Abuja, Lagos and Port Harcourt judicial divisions will remain functional for cases of extreme urgency, adding that the litigating public will be at liberty to approach all of the listed courts located nearest to them. In another development, the court announced that its e-filing platform will become operational in Lagos Division with effect from 23 June 2025. On Friday, President Bola Tinubu called for more prayers for the military and security agencies currently making sacrifices to keep the nation safe, particularly those confronting terrorists and bandits. The president, who observed the Eid al-Adha prayers at Eid ground in Dodon Barracks, Lagos, told reporters that security agencies and vulnerable citizens should top the prayer list. He urged that those who are handy to remember to pray and give to those who are very vulnerable in the spirit of the season, which is sacrifice. The president also advocated unity among Nigerians so as to remain their brothers' keepers and show love to everyone. The president also sought prayers for the troops at the front lines who are fighting to keep the country safe for their sacrifices and the challenges that the country faces from terrorism and banditry. Lastly, on Friday, troops of Operation Hadin Kai successfully repelled a series of coordinated terrorist attacks in Borno State, killing numerous insurgents and seizing a substantial cache of arms and ammunition. This was revealed in a statement issued by Director of Defense Media Operation, Major General M.G. Kanke, and made available to defense correspondents in Abuja. According to the defense headquarters, the attacks occurred in Buratai, located in Bill local government area, and Malam Faturi in Adabam local government area. Swift and coordinated action by ground troops and air component of Operation Hadin Kai was credited with securing both locations. In Buratai, terrorists attempted to breach military positions in the early hours of Thursday, June 5. Troops responded with heavy gunfire, supported by close air support. Several insurgents were neutralized, and a large quantity of arms and ammunition were recovered at the scene. In a separate incident in Malam Faturi, insurgents launched a multi-pronged assault. And that's it on Track in the Week.